Why do kids argue? You want to stop arguing in the home? Why do they argue? They learned that from their dad, right? Or whatever. One girl in a session, there was only one teenager in the group about this size one time. And she says, I'm 17 and probably the only teenager here. I've come to learn how to get along with my mom. We argue all the time because we're stubborn. She tells me, I am mother, therefore I am right. How does that go, people? Try it. It's a big deal, you know. That doesn't make the sun green. Your mother, right? So this is what this girl says. I am mom, therefore I am right, and she refuses to listen to any other side. If she thinks the sky is green, then the sky is green. And she refuses to hear otherwise. The only way we get along is if I avoid her or yield. Yes, Mom, you are right. I'm sorry, because this is always right. I have a hard time talking to her and expressing my thoughts and feelings. If you got your garbage and you bring your garbage into this house where you've always got to be right, and you're leaning on your power to be right and tell people to listen because I am in authority here, that's not the way God uses His authority. If you do that and you've always got to be right, then you make your kids always what? Wrong. Then they've always got to be wrong. And they get tired of that. That's a put down. That's a discount. That's really hard on self-image. Okay? That's really difficult. Now, how are we going to stop arguing? Why do kids argue? There's a million reasons for kids to argue. There's 4 of them up there. To win. They get out of doing the chore. It is so neat to argue. Number D there. Power. Just to argue with you, and they're better than you, and they're feeling good. They've learned to argue from you. And they're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then you say yes, and they say no. You say please, and they say no. You say I'll give you this, and they say no. And this is the way it is. And argue, argue, argue. What kind of spirit comes into your home when you argue? The spirit of contention. And that's what Satan would love, that you argue and fight with your children and have all this contention. But kids love to argue. It's in their benefit to argue in this sense. Delay the work. Right? I don't want to do it. I'm tired to do it. I can't do it. And if they delay long enough, pretty soon I have heard parents say, well, go on and go. I'll do it myself. It's easier to what? Do it myself than to ask you. Grow up and be an idiot. That's okay. Just like your father. And you will do it. Okay. And you can get them fighting. And you start, I did them last time. No, you didn't do them last time. I was here. Look at the chart. You didn't do them last time. Susan did them. You haven't done them for a week. Oh, no, I did them. And you know he's lying. And you're fighting, and pretty soon it's one of these things. Get out of here. Go on. I don't care. So there's reasons for a kid to argue, to win, to put you down, to delay the work, to fight and split, and just for the sheer joy of seeing your eyes bug out and you stop just for the sheer joy. Now, they might have to do it, but they're going to make you argue and fight and pay a pound of flesh before they say, okay, I'll do it then. And by then, you just hate them. I've had parents tell me, don't tell anybody I hate my kids. I hate them. They bring me pain and misery every day. And says, I never trained my kids like this. I never trained my kids to grow up like that. I didn't train them to be like this. And I said, who did? Who did? Who taught them to argue? Who taught them to be strong and powerful? The strongest, most powerful, stinky kids come from strong, powerful, stinky parents. Okay? That's where they learned that. They only monkey see, monkey do. You're getting upset about now because they're starting to get better than you. They're starting to get stronger than you, out-arguing you. They're brighter than you anyway. And they're going to win this game. Who always wins the power struggle? The parents or the kid? Kids. The kids win it. Arguing is no good. Now, give me the good reasons for parents to argue. There are none. If you win, you modeling that arguing is really great. And if you lose, you better get out of Dodge City. Because the inmates are taking over the asylum. And your life is going to be hell from that day forward. They won once. Oh, that's like feeding a shark blood. Okay? Oh, wow. Newfound power. Okay. All right, how are we going to stop this? Family score up here is kids 98, parents nothing. Okay, we're going to talk to you about this arguing thing. First of all, how to stop arguing. Let me tell you a story. Little Herkimer comes in, and he says, Mommy and Daddy, I want to go down to the rock concert about 90 miles away. What's 90 miles from here? There is nothing 90 miles from here. I'm used to saying San Diego. Columbus. How far is that? Do they have wicked rock concerts there with dope and people getting beat up and sexually molested and stuff? Do they have those? That's 50 miles. I didn't mean to create a big issue here. People over here, our place is more wicked than yours. Okay. Comes in, we want to go to the rock concert down in Cleveland. Can I go? No, you can't go. And guess what the kid says? Why? We're going to take Tommy's car, his brother's car, and we're going to go down there. Can we please go? And we got girlfriends, we want to take them. No, it's ridiculous. You can't go to this rock concert. Absolutely no. And then they do it again. What do they say? Why? Why not? Everybody else is going. You're the only mother in town who's telling us their little children cannot go to this rock concert. The bishop's going. And so you say no, and they say why? And why is the sucker bait? That's the hook. Just yank you right out of the water, because ever since you were little, you've been taught when somebody says why, then you answer well, because you have to appear to be logical and intelligent and give a good response, because you used to have a good response, right? And so that's your big pitfall. And you say, well, you're only 5. You can't drive, and Tommy's only 6. And the Volkswagen, now when you say you're 5, do they say, oh, okay, does that do it? No, they don't care. And Tommy can't drive, and the Volkswagen only has 3 wheels, and you don't have a license, and those girls you mentioned are bad girls, and they're 18 and 19 years old. That's not appropriate for a 5 and a 6-year-old boy. No, you can't go. Well, do you think that the kid, when you tell them that this isn't good for you, this is not good for your spiritual development, do you think a kid says, gee, I didn't know that? You mean this might have a negative impact on my spiritual development? I mean, that's an environment that wouldn't be conducive to the Spirit? Do your kids talk like that? Not on this planet. They don't say, I didn't know that. You mean it's a bad environment? Thank heaven we have parents. I'll be sure and pray tonight. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for parents that care about me and won't let me go to the concert. No. Now he says, why? 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 Do you think this kid is saying why so he can collect some data? So he can make a good decision? He's not interested in data. They're not interested in data. When they say why, they're like the car salesman. I walk by, they grab me in there. I just happen to be walking along the sidewalk and kind of glance at a car. Whoo, I'm in that closing room. Mr. Jones, do you want to buy a car? Oh, I'd love to, but I can't afford one. I don't have any money. I have bad credit. I'm just returning to jail. I cannot buy this car. They say, well, why not? Get it? Why? Why not? It's only got 2 doors. I wanted 4. We can get you 4. Just got one of my objections overcome, right? Is that true? I wanted a green one. We'll spray can it. We'll make it green. We can get you a green. I wanted one with stereo and air. Every time I give an objection, what does this guy do? He overcomes it. Now, why are your kids asking you why? Because they want more data, right? They want to collect all the data they can so they can make a spiritual decision. Is that why they're asking why? No. They're like the car salesman. They want to beat you down. And every time you answer a why, you start an argument. Did you notice that? They never say thank you. That one does it for me. I'm convinced. No more. I'm convinced. It's not a good environment. That's it for me. I don't have a license. No. When you say you don't have a license, it's against the law. Mom, we'll drive so fast they won't catch us. But do they always overcome the objection? They always overcome the objection. You can't even reach the pedals. I'm going to steer and Tommy's going to push the pedals. We can do this, Mom. We've got it all worked out. Now, how do you handle this? Well, first of all, You learn from them. We turn the tables. We want to stop this arguing. Why are some of you wiping tears? That happens, doesn't it, at home? It causes a spirit of contention. You can never convince these kids. They're not into logic. They're into emotion. You pass each other. And parents are conservative. They want to protect the kids. Parents are concerned with long-term protection and security and long-term benefits. Kids are interested in the here and now. I want an ice cream now. Doesn't matter. You got a headache. I don't care. I want an ice cream now. Now. They have no ability to defer gratification unless we introduce that wonderful principle into their young lives. All right, so here we are. What do you do? When they says, I want to go to the rock concert. Guess what you do? You use the magic word. What is it? Why? Not no, not yet. Why? We're going to hear, why? Yes, the magic word is why. Because whoever uses the word why is in control. Is that right? Why? Well, because it's going to be fun and it's a spiritual uplift. Do you argue about the being a spiritual uplift? No matter what they say, you do not argue with it because you don't like arguing. Okay? We're going to have these 3 immoral groups there, and I'm going to get to watch them all. That's okay. Why else should you go? Well, I'm going to have a birthday in 3 months. That's good. Okay. Why else should you go? Tell me why you should go. Why? Why? And what are you doing? Are you giving them their day in court? Are they getting to talk? Yes, yes. And you're taking all the wind out of their sails. Give me more, give me more. Come on, give me some more reasons. Well, that's 13, Mom. That's all I can think of. You come back tomorrow and bring me some more good ones. Okay? Him and Tommy, they think about it and they come back in a couple of days. They got that's 3 or 4 more reasons. This is called the sponge. The sponge. Yes, yes. Tell me more. Can you read that? Give me some more. Give it all. Give it all. Give it all. Shoot me everything you got, baby. Right here. Right now. Come on. But you say, Now don't go to sleep or yawn. Go very attentive. Yes. Okay. Some more. Some more. You sponge. You just suck it all out. Pretty soon they're just dry. Mom, I don't have any more. All right, I will consult with your father and we'll discuss this and we'll pray about it. When you say pray, he knows he's a dead duck. Is that right? Is that right? Hey, I had a kid. Listen, this isn't funny. I mean, listen to this. When kids in there and Mom and Dad says, we prayed about it, son, and you can't go. The kid says, Heavenly Father says I couldn't go? They said, yes. He says, well, let me go in and talk to him. So he went in his bedroom and knelt down and prayed for 15 minutes. He came out and said, it's all okay. He said, it's all right. I explained it. Well, I don't know about that. I had to think about that. But the point is, what? The point is that we've taken this to a point now where the boy is got the answer no. He's answered the why. You got a whole bucket full. You come back after you've talked to the husband or the wife, whichever the case may be, and you sit down and you say, sweetheart, we've considered everything, and the answer is no. All that, and the answer is no. Well, I've been a sucker, you know. All that, and the answer is no. And then guess what he says? He says, well, why? And you go, aha, you know, because you know that game, right? You've been playing it for 3 days. Now, you do not come from a place of power. Because I said so. I'm Dad and I said. You don't come from a place of power. And you don't come from a place of logic. Because if you're logical with them, are they going to listen? No. Because it's too far, they'll overcome that. Because it's not safe, they'll overcome that. It's not a good environment, Mom, you don't know. Da-da-da. Logic doesn't work, power doesn't work. What works? Sweetheart, we've thought about it. Love. Love works. We love you, and this is our consideration, and this is what we've thought, and we've prayed about it, and we really feel that this is a big decision in our recommendation, or we don't give our permission to do that. Now, can a 15 or 16-year-old run away and do it anyway? Yes, they can. And are you going to jump up and down and do backflips because you don't have power to stop that? Hope not. Heavenly Father didn't. Use his example in the garden. And when he says why, you do not get into all this other answers. You begin to use a deflector. Now, a deflector is like nevertheless or regardless. And you just say no. And when you don't answer why, he'll say, well, that's stupid. And then you repeat it. Well, sweetheart, whether it's stupid or not, the answer is no. Well, everybody else is going. Whether everyone else is going or not, nevertheless, the answer is no. Well, we're going to go in a big group. Sweetheart, regardless of that, regardless of going in a big group, the answer is no. And you use the regardless, the nevertheless, or in spite of that, some other words, but the same principle is that it is a deflector. Your sponge scooped up all the energy, and they shouldn't have a whole lot left. We've had kids just stand there bewildered when a person said nevertheless and just kind of drool and walk off because the parents won't argue. What are you going to do? And somebody's got to hold the other end of the rope in tug of war. If nobody will hold the other end of the rope, they just kind of hold it for a while and drop it and walk off. Nobody's going to argue. They don't even get the satisfaction of making you mad. Nevertheless, the answer is no, regardless of that. And then they'll say something like this. I hate that stupid word, regardless. You go to some idiot parent class and learn a couple smart aleck words and you think you know everything. Regardless of whether I know everything. The answer is no. Does this make any sense, people? Now, lying and arguing. I want to promise you that you cannot win an argument. If we just did these two, would your house be different? Would your home be different? If you absolutely, totally stop the arguing and stop the lying. Are these the principles of the gospel? Then how come we don't see it in that? How come we don't make absolutely sure we never lie? How come we don't make absolutely sure that we never contend? He that hath the spirit of contention is of the devil. Stop contending, God tells us. And he means stop it. He doesn't say it's okay if it's justified. He said stop it. Now, Lucifer contends. Lucifer argues. Now, if you're going to use Lucifer's parenting program, and you're going to use Lucifer's methods of arguing and using anger and using power and using criticism and doing these things, then you're going to be just where Lucifer is, miserable and angry and upset in your home most of the time. It's not important that you win an argument. What's important is that you don't have the contention and that you don't argue. Does this make sense? I want to tell you, people, that your children do not appreciate your superior logic. They do not care whether you're right or wrong. They want to go to the rock concert. Does this make sense? Now, most parents want to explain it to the children, and you might do that once. Well, the reason we did it is we thought it was too far, etc., etc., etc. And then they're going to attack that. They won't leave it alone. They're going to attack that. They do not want to know your reasoning process, usually. Very seldom. Very seldom will you have a child say, I really appreciate you not letting me go. I respect your superior life's experience. I know you love me, and it's very disappointing to me, but I'm going to go tell the gang. And we'll all stay home and watch videos and eat pizza. Yeah, right. Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Now, can they ditch and go anyway? Yes, they can. Then there'll be consequences for that. Okay.
What about using your feelings? For example, he said, don't go to rock concert. Express your opinion. I would not prefer that you went.
Uh-huh. Well, sometimes I would prefer you didn't go, but if you listen to what Heavenly Father says in the garden, He didn't say, I don't feel it would be good for you. What did He say? Now, we got to realize we're not perfect. But He said, these are the rules and these are the consequences. It hurts my heart to think that you might go to a place like that and be hurt. I love you, and expressing feelings like that, I feel it would be wrong, etc., etc., is okay. And you can soften a little bit that way. But the really firm point is that these are the rules, and I've considered this, and my recommendation is no. I do not give permission to go. You're 13, you'd be out after curfew, it's a bad crowd, it's a bad situation. I trust you, but I don't trust your life's experience. I don't trust the situation. I don't trust your way of transportation. And you go on, I don't trust the music, whatever you want to say. But my answer is no. And sometimes you'll say, I don't know why. I just have this feeling, mother's intuition, that I should say no, and that's what I'm going on. I've prayed for inspiration and counsel from Heavenly Father. I just feel it wouldn't be good, now that's where I'm standing. So the answer is no, honey. I know you're disappointed. Maybe we can do something else. But you can't go, no. You repeat the broken record. In other words, you just keep saying, nevertheless, the answer is no. Nevertheless, the answer is no. Unhook. Now, there's got to be consequences because they'll follow you around the house, you know. Do you know that? I had one mother call me up at 3 o'clock in the morning because the kid always came in and would come into bed. I said, lock the door and keep her out. Says, who runs the house over there? She says, we both know. I said, that's right. Now, if you want any peace, because the kid would, well, like 13 or 14-year-old, come and sleep with mom, and just a big baby is a big wrong thing. Not that that wouldn't be okay every once in a while, but every time, you know, every night, no privacy. The child was very intrusive, so I said, shut the door and lock it, and do not answer the door no matter what happens to her bedroom. The child wasn't terrified or frightened or anything. So about 2 o'clock, or I guess it started about midnight, the kid started getting, you know, Mom, let me in, let me in. She crying and making a big scene because she knew she could always beat her mother up. She could always wear the mother down by just being stronger and more intrusive and more whiny and more bellyache and more demanding. The child would always get her own way. She always had in the past. At 3 o'clock, she calls me. The mother could see the lips under the door. Mother, let me in. Go, go, go. I says, go in the bathroom and lock the door. You just got to stand it. You can't let her in. I can't stand it. Well, she knows that. Let her in. They'll let her in all the time. But you're giving it up here. You're giving up your privacy. You're giving up everything. And you're teaching the child all she's got to do is to be a monster to get what she wants. You are training her to be an idiot. You're training her to be a monster, to be demanding, to go over people's boundaries, not to care about rules or regulations. She had a hard time with that. These soft mothers, they love these children just like the dads, and they have a hard time with that. Now let's talk about criticism real quickly. Criticism does not change behavior. Criticism, fault-finding, blaming is forbidden by the Lord. He says, cease to find fault one with another. Is that plain? How many scriptures do you need on that? Stop criticizing. I always tell this joke and nobody laughs. I'm looking for a group that likes this joke. Ladies, if criticism worked, your husbands would be perfect. That doesn't do it. Do you get the idea? We criticize and criticize and criticize. It doesn't do any good. People don't change when they're criticized. It destroys their self-image. It hurts them inside, but they don't change. It starts to destroy them. All right. Some people say that criticism is okay. I do it just nice. I do constructive criticism. Sure. Constructive means to build up. What does criticism mean? To break down, to tear down. It's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as constructive criticism. Criticism is poison. It destroys. Correction is different. Criticism is discounting. It's finding fault with that person as a being and focusing on them as something wrong instead of on the behavior that's something wrong with the behavior. And it's discounting that person. You're so stupid. You always do this. Criticism attacks the person. Criticism is wrong. And we say it's an oxymoron. An oxymoron is a ridiculous contradiction in terms. Like jumbo shrimp. Is that true? For mother, family, vacation. Reasonable attorney fees. Congressional ethics. One of my favorites, Army intelligence. Right. There's no such thing as constructive criticism. Whenever I say criticism, I want you to think of a synonym. And that synonym is what? Rejection.
This concludes the program on this side of the cassette. To continue the program, please turn the cassette over.
Rejection. When you criticize, you're rejecting somebody. I got a thing on that. Maybe you can see it over here if I get over here. There's a rejection scale. And if you accept 100% of your child, how much do you reject? Nothing. If you accept 90%, how much do you reject? Got some rocket scientists here. Okay. 10 from 100 is 90, right? Okay. If I accept 70% of the child, how much am I rejecting? You see, that's what they're feeling. You say, well, that's not true. Most of everything my kid does is great. It's really good. But guess what happens? It might be that 99% of what you talk about is this 3% that you don't accept. That's what you're working on. Does that make sense? That the focus is on the 3 to 5% that you don't like. And that's almost all the talk. And some kids will tell you, and some of you have been caught in this trap, the kid will say, don't you see anything good that I do? You think I'm a total idiot? Don't you see any good in me? That's what they're thinking. Because you see the 95%, but you don't talk about it. Now, what we find is that in the average home, guess how many you dummies there are compared to attaboys? You know what that is? How many positive strokes compared to you're stupid? The average home is 25 dummies to one good one. They've done studies. They vary. This is a good figure. For every good, constructive comment in most homes, there's 25 corrections. Honey, would you please hurry? You're going to be late. Not that sweater, honey. Did you got your homework? Who's left the lights on in there again? Quick, go back and get... There's constant, endless historical commentary on life, and it's always negative. And what we need is 10 good ones to one bad one. Does that make sense? And it's not a criticism I'm talking about. 10 supportive, strong comments to one correction. Not the other way around. It takes a lot. Perfectionism. A lot of us bring our own garbage into our homes. And we're perfectionistic. We came from those kinds of homes. And when we take on a perfectionistic idea, let me tell you what that is. No matter what it is, it's never good enough. Now, I have that malady. I come from a dysfunctional family. My dad was alcoholic. Mom was always going to get a divorce. She was codependent. And I got both barrels, baby. I got how to be an alcoholic, and I also got how to be a codependent. So I spent 25,000 hours recording how to be goofy in my home. So I got some real stuff to overcome. And we bring this junk into the home, and we're perfectionistic. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. I climb this mountain, I don't feel satisfied. Now, there's a reason for that. I came from a shame-bound home. Dad was critical. He was angry all the time. And it hurt me inside as a little boy. He'd hit us too hard, too often, abruptly, without reason, without cause. Sometimes it depended on how he felt. And Mom was always going to leave, and she took us and left sometimes, and we'd go live somewhere. I went to 14 schools by the time I graduated from high school. No wonder I can't spell. Is that true? Why do you think I have these placards? I can't spell idiot, you know? Okay. Now, I came from a shame-bound home. My father always had to be right. I'm the ruler. Autocratic here. See that one up there, that red one? Authoritarian, autocratic, powerful. This is my home, and when you're in my home, you will do what I say. And because Dad always had to be right and I always had to be wrong, I started to feel there was something wrong with me. And Dad was always upset, and Dad was always angry. And that's the impression I got of me, that I'm pretty dumb and I can't do anything. And so my life is a compensation of trying to prove to myself that I'm okay. Because I was trying to get validated, trying to get that love. My dad came from a goofy system, and I was looking for a dad. And I'd go up to him, I need love, I'm afraid, I need this. And he'd basically, what he did, not what he said, he'd say, hey, I'm still looking for a dad too, get out of here, you know? I haven't got time for you. How can you bother me with your little problems when these huge, horrible problems are going on in my life? We only go to the dry well so long. And then we can remember, some of us, the point where we said, I'm not going to go anymore. I'm not going to talk to him anymore. I'm always in trouble. I'm sick of always being in trouble. I'm sick of always being put down. Now, I didn't say it necessarily those things, but I didn't want to be around them. We don't like to be around people that criticize us and stuff. Now, I bring this perfectionism to my home. My little boy wanted to pitch in Little League. He wasn't much of a ball player. They put him out in right field and prayed they didn't hit the ball out there. But they had to play him if he was on the team. And he decided halfway through that season he wanted to pitch. And I said, you really want to pitch, son? I said, you got to really work on that, so make sure you don't hurt your arm, you're young, etc., etc. We got into this thing, and he said, I want to pitch, Dad. And I said, if you want to pitch, okay. And he's talking to an obsessive, compulsive old man here. See, baseball isn't a game, it's war. You got to go out and kill those little people. See, I'm angry at the world. I'm angry at the world. I'm walking behind some people and they're too slow. Kill those people. Get them out of the road. I'm driving a car. Get those idiots off the road. I'm angry. I'm angry because my needs weren't met. And they still aren't being met, a lot of them. But some of them are now. I'm getting a handle on it. So I'm not quite so goofy anymore. You know? So here I am with this little boy who wants to play baseball. So we don't just play baseball. I don't say go down to the library and get some books. No. We went down to San Diego, had film taken of this little boy, how he threw, and they told me I played baseball and I pitched, but I didn't know any of this stuff. This was big time stuff. Told me how to do it so his arm wouldn't hurt, and how he had to stretch and throw exactly so many pitches a day, and how his feet had to be and how his hip had to be, and we took movies of it, this video stuff. Come back to, we're going to kill all those people, boy. The season's about over, but we're going to kill all those people all. And he trained all winter. He trained all winter. Boy, he went out, he threw exactly so many balls, and I'd have cracked him on the head if he didn't stretch just right and so many times. And if he was unfaithful to his training regime, boy, I'd be on his case. You're an athlete now. Oh, yes, sir. Little 11-year-old kid turning 12, Yes, sir. And the first game of the season, he pitched. In Little League, there's 6 innings, and you could pitch 6 innings. And he pitched 6 innings, that's 18 outs. And he struck out 15 out of 18 batters. Whoom, whoom, one after another. And guess what we talked about on the way home?
3 that you did.
The 3 that he just wasted. That you didn't have to let him hit that ball. He grounded out to short. You could have wasted 2 more pitches. You had 2 strikes. What does the kid say? Dad, are you crazy? The kid doesn't think that. He thinks there's something wrong with him when the old man's critical. He hasn't got enough sense to know my father's really tweaked. Okay? My old man is half a bubble off. He doesn't think that. He's getting all this obsessive compulsive stuff. At the end of the season, he said, I don't think I want to play baseball anymore. I said, you what? I had him playing for the Yankees. And he was the only kid at the end of the season, all-stars, didn't have a sore arm. Because we really did it right. But then he gave it up. I wonder why he would do that. What was that all about, people? Whose garbage was that? I was laying on that little kid. That was my junk. That was my garbage. When you got to be perfectionistic, you automatically sentence everybody to what? To failure. And sometimes, no matter what to do, some moms, its room isn't quite clean enough. People go home and stand in front of the mirror, you perfectionists, and say, it's good enough. This room is good enough. It's going to hurt, You have these pains in your stomach. It's good enough. I've done enough work today. I did a good job today. See, no matter what I did, it was never good enough. I always had to go more. And no matter how hard I worked, it was never good enough. It never made me feel good. Because I was looking for external validation to solve my internal problems. And it won't work. It doesn't work. We got to go someplace else with that. Every time you talk to your kid, you take a knife and you stab them. Why isn't your room cleaned? How many times do I have to tell you? Will you please hurry? I'm sick and tired of you kids always doing this. I'm always this. You never this. Why You make me crazy. Some kid says, I hate this house. I wish I wasn't born here. And you say, me too. And that's the way you feel right then. Terribly down. And you stab, and you stab, and you stab. And what you're doing, you don't realize it, but inside is that little person that's being struck in the face, and that self-image is being destroyed. We're saying our kids are so subject to peer pressure. Why do these peer groups have such inordinate influence over our children? Why won't they listen to mom and dad? Can't understand why 4.5 hours of television is so influential in my child's life, and the peer group and the school. We spend 8 hours at work and not 10 minutes on our personal relationships every day. Not 10 minutes. Not doing what's right. We shame this little child. We destroy her. We kill her. That's what happens. We stab and we shame. You see, guilt is I made a mistake. Shame is I am a mistake. I'm a flawed human being. I can never be okay. I'm not good enough. And a lot of you got a piece of that because you came from critical homes and parents who are critical of you. Is that true? And you pass that on to your kids, you pick it up, and you start criticizing your kids. Remember, criticism never changes behavior. It's poison. It will destroy any relationship there is. Criticism is wicked. It's wrong. It's never justified. Correction is, and we'll talk about that. Don't shame your children. There's no such a thing as constructive criticism. It is a lie. It's like saying, you're a wonderful guy, and I love you, and you're sweet, and you're wonderful, but. And whenever you hear but, you just cancel everything that came before. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yes. You know this old thing about sandwich criticism? You say something nice, and then you correct, and then you say something nice again. Does that make sense? No. No, it doesn't. That's like having a piece of bread, a cow pie, and a piece of bread. Okay? It is no good. Absolutely zero good. And what happens, what we don't realize, that when we're correcting this child and criticizing this child in a dozen different ways, that we're stabbing right in the heart. We're stabbing right in the heart. Because a child is a very vulnerable, a very delicate, a fragile thing. A child is like a little flower that opens up towards the sun. And they look to mom and dad for validation that they're okay. They're wondering, am I okay? Am I bad? Am I good? Am I loved? Am I safe? And when we criticize, we take something away from that child that's terribly important. And that is the acceptance, the unconditional love that they need to feel. Because they do not feel unconditionally loved when they're criticized. So criticism must go. This is the original parenting program that we as a people have apostatized from in the world. And that the original parenting program we can look at and find in the Garden of Eden and all the dealings with Heavenly Father with His children. Heavenly Father says something. In the Doctrine and Covenants 88, 124, it's very simple. 4 words says the whole thing. Cease to find fault. Cease to find fault. Stop criticizing. Stop it. Stop it. You must stop it. Now you can correct without criticizing. You can punish without criticizing. You can discipline without criticism. And that's a trick. That's good. And that's what we have to learn to do. And there's a way to do that. The fact that I criticize alienates me from you. You don't want to be around people who criticize you because you feel belittled and discounted. When you criticize, again you are saying, I'm the super being and you are the subhuman. So criticism destroys. I've done lots of marriage counseling and counseling with families. And one lecture series I went to, they had me stay in somebody's house. It's not here. It's a long time ago. And they said the lady had me stay at her house because her husband criticized so much. She says, I'm going to get a divorce from this man. He's up high in the church and I don't know what everybody's going to say, but I can't stand it anymore. The man can't have a conversation with the kids except that he criticizes them. He has to be on them about how they do the dishes. There's a better way to make your bed. Now, what is he saying? I just want to what? Help. But he's addicted to his criticism. He gets off on criticism. His anxiety build up, and when he criticizes, he unloads. He has this emotional bowel movement on the people that he loves. He's constantly on them. And the mother says, I can't stand it anymore. I'm leaving. Can you talk to him? I says, well, I'll try, She says, we've been to all these counselors and done this and done that, and nothing works, spent all this money, and this was a very, very wealthy family. I says, okay, I'll talk to him. So I'm always very gentle, sugarcoat everything. So I sat him down and I said, your wife's going to divorce you. You are history. See this beautiful home? You're going to be coming here every other weekend to pick up your kids. I said, and you want to know why? They say I criticize. I don't. I just help. I said, would you want to stop criticism in your home forever? He says, yeah, I would. And then I got him. I said, how much is it worth to you? $10,000? And he looked real funny. He thought I was going to charge him. That wasn't a bad idea, but I didn't have that in mind. And he said, well, it's worth a lot. I said, how much is it worth to you? If it cost you $10,000, your home and all this, dividing up your property in a few months is going to cost a lot more than that, $1 million or so. What do you say? He said, oh, I want to quit. I said, I'll give you a behavioral technique that will stop criticism in your home right now, if you will follow it. He says, okay, I'll try. I said, all right. Tomorrow morning, I want you to get up. We'll brief the family. I want you to get up, and I want you to put in your pocket $55 bills. He was wealthy. The rest of us used dollar bills. All right. Say dollar bill. $51 bills. You have them in your pocket. And this is the game. Every time your wife, because she was leaving him, she says, I can't talk to him except I feel discounted and put down. Nothing's good enough. Every time that woman feels that you have criticized her, you have put her down, you have hurt her feelings, whatever one of those children feel the same way, they're going to raise their hand and say, Daddy, that was one. And then you smile. And you take this out. And you say, sweetheart, thank you for helping me to stop criticizing. Here's $1. If you are hesitant, if you frown, if you say, that wasn't one, it's double. Automatic double. And they are the sole judge, no comment. Because these people who criticize, do they realize that they're doing it? Sometimes they do, but they can't stop. Will you do this? And if it doesn't work the first week, you go to $5 the next week. And then you go to $10. And then you go to $20. People, I tell you, this works. Do you believe me? Yes. It do work. And about when it reaches $50 a crack, somebody gets it through their head, this just isn't worth it. I can't afford to be critical anymore. And I quit. And you keep the program. You keep that program going. You keep that program going, and it will work. It's a very simple little, kind of painful thing. Especially with old skinflint Papa, who I'd figured out his heart was on his treasure, wasn't it? This guy was really something. And I've had other people do this. I've had people in counseling to do this. They can't stand it. They're addicted to criticism. They can't do it. They're like the alcoholic. Honestly, they cannot stop. We had a group of about 400 or 500 people. We said, we challenge you to go home and for 1 week, don't say a critical word to anybody. What did the Lord say, people? Cease to find fault. Is that a commandment? Can it be said any simpler, any plainer? Stop it. Period. We told these people, go home and try it. They came back the next week. Guess what they said? They raised their hands. They were really beat up. This one says, we didn't get out of the parking. We couldn't even get in our car. This one lady said, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say it. But I stopped criticizing my children, and I had nothing left to say. 100% of my dialogue was, hurry up, we're going to be late. Sweetheart, that doesn't match. Can you please put on both shoes? You know, get that. And all. It was, our parents are into one constant, endless train of advice, of counsel, of corrections, of historical comments. You always do that. That's critical. They cannot stop it. We become addicted to criticism. If you don't think it's an addiction, try to stop. Try to stop. I'm suggesting to you, there's no place for criticism. I didn't say there's no place for correction. I didn't say there's no place for discipline. I said there's no place for criticism. The Lord said, cease to find fault. So we've got to stop. Do you buy that? Would you like to go home and try this? It is amazing. I was doing this all over, and my wife thought she was really smart. She says, well, how come we don't do it? I said, you want to do it? I don't want to take all your money. She said, that's one. Is that one? Was that a put down? Yeah. But she, in a couple, 3 days, she was broke, you know, and do you think she realized it? No. I'm the kind of person that gives lots of opportunity to be critical when you live with. I'm an expert, all right? So there's lots of buttons I punch. I don't mean to. It's just the normal nature of the beast. And so it's a very, very important thing. People, I challenge you. Some of you are addicted to it. One lady said, you know, I knew I was doing it, and I couldn't stop. I just had to say it. And finally she'd say it, Susan, get up there and change. Gotta do. It's just like getting that needle in. Now I've done it. I got my fix. They're really, really addicted. All right, criticism. It does not change behavior. So why do it? It destroys relationships. Fault finding is a blame game. When I say you're the one at fault, I'm criticizing you. I'm pointing my finger at you, taking the focus off of me, so I don't have to deal with my stuff. And so I'm taking the focus off me, focusing on you. So you're sacrificing a lot of times your kids to keep off your own stuff. Constructive criticism we talked about, it's rejection, and it is perfectionism. A lot of us are into this perfect stuff. And that's a perfect way to set up a child that's doomed to failure. Because we get them expecting such high things. And some of us have a piece of this. How many of you feel like this? That you can always do a little better. Somebody compliments you, and you say, well, I could have done better. I could have done more. I could have done it sooner. I could have done it this way or that way. And we can never, ever, ever be satisfied with our performance. We always expect more. And that attitude is transmitted to our children. And that sets them up to feel bad about whatever they do. If you're a perfectionist, you're doomed to failure. And if your children expect that perfection, they're doomed to failure. A parent trap is a pattern of behavior that's maladaptive behavior on the part of the parent to get the kid to do something or not to do something. And that doesn't work. This is not a new parenting program. It's an old parenting program.